Welcome to Roman Fiction. If you like what you watch, please like and subscribe. Now on to the story. The roar of the crowd thundered through the amphitheater, an ocean of voices echoing relentlessly in Tiberius's ears. The sun beat mercilessly upon the sand of the Colosseum. Each grain a fiery ember beneath his sandals, he stood, battle-hardened, yet weary. His body marked by countless scars, each one a story he longed to forget. Tiberius had not chosen this life. He had been captured years ago in a war he never believed in, dragged to Rome in chains, stripped of his honor, and thrust into the brutal games for the entertainment of the masses. His heart had once been filled with dreams of a simple life, one filled with peace, family, and honest labor. He remembered clearly the rolling hills of his homeland, the gentle breeze that swept through golden fields, and the laughter of his family around the fire at night. Yet now, after countless battles and endless bloodshed, he stood on the precipice of freedom. This would be his final fight, one more victory, and he would earn the woodman's sword that symbolized his release from servitude. His opponent stood at the opposite gate, a towering figure known throughout Rome as Marcus the Unbroken. Marcus had never tasted defeat, his massive frame and skill with the spear unrivaled. His reputation was legendary. Whispered with both awe and fear, Tiberius had seen the wreckage Marcus left behind in the arena. Many who faced him never left the sands alive. Stories of Marcus's brutality were whispered in dark taverns and round campfires, tales that chilled even seasoned gladiators. It was said Marcus had fought since childhood, raised among warriors and never knowing a life beyond combat. The gates groaned open, their metallic creak drowned by the overwhelming cheers and jeers of the spectators. Tiberius tightened his grip on the sword and shield, his heart steady, his breath measured. Marcus charged forward without hesitation, a giant clad in minimal armor to show his arrogance and fearlessness. His spear glistened under the harsh sunlight, reflecting a cruel promise of death. Tiberius sidestepped the initial thrust, feeling the wind from Marcus's spear narrowly miss his side. The champion's movements were swift, his strikes powerful yet precise. Each clash echoed through the arena, blending with the frenzied screams of spectators hungry for a spectacle. Marcus's strength seemed limitless, each strike more punishing than the last, driving Tiberius to the brink of exhaustion. Tiberius fought defensively, waiting patiently for any mistake, any opportunity to strike back. Marcus pressed his advantage, pushing Tiberius towards the arena's edge. Every strike driving him closer to desperation. Tiberius's heart pounded, his mind racing, calculating every move. His muscles burned, yet he fought through the pain, driven by the thought of freedom, of leaving behind this life of violence, images of home, distant memories of laughter, and the warmth of family fueled his resolve. The cheering of the crowd faded into the background, replaced by the pounding of his own heart and the whispers of memories that urged him forward. Then, in a crucial moment, Marcus overextended, the pride in his strength making him reckless. Tiberius seized the opening, pivoting swiftly and slicing upward. His blade found Marcus's thigh, causing the giant to stagger backward. Blood spilled onto the sand, staining it crimson as the crowd roared louder, sensing a shift in the fight's momentum. But Marcus was not so easily defeated. With a furious bellow, he swung his spear in a wide arc, knocking Tiberius's shield from his grasp, exposed and vulnerable. Tiberius rolled away from another lethal strike, his breath labored, his vision blurred by sweat and sand. Every move was agony, yet Tiberius knew he couldn't afford hesitation or weakness. Drawing upon his remaining strength, Tiberius leaped forward in one desperate move, his sword aiming true. He struck Marcus deep in the side, driving his blade with a resolve born from years of suffering and longing. Marcus faltered, his eyes wide with shock as he dropped his weapon, collapsing onto the blood-soaked ground. The arena seemed to hold its breath, the silence almost deafening. Waiting for the final verdict, the crowd erupted. A deafening wave of noise echoing triumph and bloodlust. Tiberius stood over his fallen opponent, his chest heaving, his body aching but victorious. He turned slowly, his gaze meeting the eyes of the emperor himself. The arena fell silent once more. Awaiting judgment, his fate rested in the hands of one man, whose expression revealed nothing. The emperor raised his hand, and with a measured, dramatic pause, offered a single nod. The gesture was clear. Tiberius had won his freedom. As Tiberius dropped his sword, relief washed over him. Mingled with sorrow and fatigue, he stepped away from Marcus, away from the sand that had soaked up years of bloodshed, and into the uncertain promise of liberty. With one final glance at the roaring crowd, Tiberius knew that while his body had escaped the arena, his memories and scars would forever bind him to it. Freedom had been earned. But the cost was etched eternally in his soul. Walking away from the Colosseum, Tiberius felt the weight of his past, but also the hope for a new future life where he might one day find peace and leave the haunting echoes of battle behind. Days turned into weeks as Tiberius tried to adjust to his newfound freedom. Rome, the city he had only known from within the confines of chains and combat, was now open to him. Yet he felt isolated among its bustling streets. He sought solace in quiet corners and simple labors, attempting to rebuild a life shattered by violence. One day, as he walked the marketplace, he caught sight of a familiar face, a fellow former gladiator, Valerius, who had won his freedom years prior. They shared a knowing nod. A silent bond formed by shared suffering and survival over cups of wine. They exchanged stories of struggle and hope, of dreams long forgotten and now rekindled. Valerius spoke of the countryside, of open fields and the quiet dignity of working the land. Tiberius listened, the image resonating deeply with the dreams he had once harbored before war and slavery had stolen them away. That night, beneath Rome's vast starlit sky, Tiberius resolved to reclaim the peaceful life he once desired. Leaving Rome behind, Tiberius journeyed to the countryside. The tranquility of nature provided him a sense of healing, slowly washing away the bloodstains of the past. He labored on a modest farm, finding solace in the rhythm of planting and harvesting, each day bringing him closer to peace. Yet, even as years passed and his physical scars faded, the emotional wounds lingered. Each sunset reminded him of the countless battles, of friends lost, and of lives taken. But with time, Tiberius learned to accept these memories as a part of himself, a testament to his entrance and strength. Freedom, he realized, was not merely escaping the physical bonds of slavery or the arena's brutal sands. It was learning to live with the past and embracing the uncertain, yet hopeful future that lay ahead. Tiberius had survived the worst, and though he would forever carry his past, he now moved forward, determined to live fully in the freedom he had fought so desperately to achieve. He built a modest home, tended to his fields, and eventually married, raising a family whose laughter and love gradually overshadowed the echoes of his violent past. Years later, standing on his own land beneath the gentle sun, surrounded by the laughter of his children, Tiberius felt a profound peace. He had journeyed far, both physically and emotionally, and finally realized that true freedom was found not only in escaping chains and violence, but also in embracing a life filled with love, purpose, and genuine human connection. His children grew strong and kind, unaware of their father's brutal past, and he ensured they knew only peace. As decades passed, Tiberius became a respected figure in his community, Known for his wisdom, generosity, and humility, he found joy in mentoring young men and women, teaching them not only the ways of farming but also the values of peace, resilience, and compassion. He shared stories not of his battles, but of the lessons learned from them, tales that inspired courage, understanding, and forgiveness. At the end of his long, fulfilling life, Tiberius lay surrounded by his family, the warmth of their love comforting him in his final moments. He knew he had found true freedom not just in escaping slavery, but in building a legacy defined by kindness and strength of character. In his last breath, Tiberius closed his eyes with a peaceful smile, knowing he had lived fully, loved deeply, and that the scars of the past had not defined him, but had instead guided him toward a life truly worth living. His family carried his legacy forward, and tales of his life echoed through generations, inspiring countless others to seek their own paths to freedom, dignity, and peace. Thank you for joining me on this journey through ancient Rome. If you enjoyed this story and crave more tales of intrigue, bravery, and adventure from the Roman Empire, click here for more Roman fiction. Until our next adventure, veil farewell.